Hi, welcome to Turning the Keys podcast, the place where I will share the insights and tools that have helped me in my journey. And maybe this can help you too or serve you somehow. I am Anaira Sultan and I am glad to be here. Today's episode is about know your enemy. And let's be real, if you're really an adult, you probably don't have time to have enemies like it's middle school. The enemy I'm going to talk about lives within ourselves. We can be our own enemies. We can be our own haters. And I believe that comes from a place of not knowing ourselves very well. I was always a curious person, so here and there I always had opportunities to experience something different and learn something about myself. But I think that the first time that I really got to put a mirror in front of me and face myself was when I learned about the enneagram. I bought a course that was named Self-Acknowledgement Map, and in this course they will teach you how to discover your enneagram type and wing. And I remember something that the teacher said at the beginning of the course that some people would say, oh, but by learning this, I will be putting myself into a box and labeling it. And she said, you already are in this box. You're going just to bring this to your conscious. And the other thing that she said is that even though there are tests that you can answer a lot of questions and find out what's your type, it will most likely just determine how you perform as an individual, not your true self. Because when you answer questions, you're doing with your conscious mind. But what guides you, it's your unconscious. And that's why you need to dig deeper, meaning starting from the childhood. So according to the Enneagram, we have 9 needs that we must meet in order for us to develop. And despite of all of our parents' efforts, there is always one need that we will feel like it was less met. And based on this need not being met, we will develop our whole personality, because our personality is an attempt to fulfill that void left by this need that was less met. And it sounds complicated, but I'll try to exemplify better. So I'm going to say in order from type 1 to type 9 personality. The 9 needs are type 1 to feel good, type 2 to feel loved, type 3 to feel valued, type 4 to feel adequate, type 5 to feel capable, type 6 to feel safe, type 7 to feel happy, type 8 to feel protected, and type 9 to feel important. So when I started studying the Enneagram, I identified myself as type 2. And I think I did that because I was in a moment of my life where I was not feeling loved. I was going through a heartbreak. But once that storm calmed down, I could see how I am a type 4. And I'm going to use this as an example. So for the type 4s, the need that was not met is the need to feel adequate. So this type is also known as the individualistic or the artist or the romantic. And on the childhood of type 4s, they felt rejected or judged by who they are. So they developed this feeling of not being good enough. This is the core wound of type 4s. And because of that, everything that they do to feel special. This is their core motivation. So since they didn't have this sense of belonging well developed, they embrace that characteristic and they do everything to show, yes, I am in fact different. They usually hate to do anything that is trendy, and that's so me. So if everybody's dressing a certain way, I don't want to dress like that because everybody's wearing that. They try to make their appearance be unique in a certain way. Probably like to listen to music that nobody's listening to and going to places that is not as popular. If everybody's talking about a place, they don't want to go there because they're not like everybody, right? This childhood proved this to them. For you to have an idea, Johnny Depp, Amy Winehouse, Kurt Cobain, they are type 4 personalities. And the beautiful side of this personality is this creation part, is this uniqueness. If everybody was the same, this world would be extremely boring. So it's good that we have people that take ground on their uniqueness. But the shadow side of this personality is to be constantly trying to prove yourself. Do you know how exhausting this could be? All of our personalities have light and darkness. And the challenge for us is to know our darkness and to know how to light it up. This is how we become balanced, and this is how we become whole. But the thing is, most times we are afraid or we are avoidant of our own darkness because it's painful, right? Look at those 9 needs. In my case, to feel that you don't belong anywhere is something painful that led me to isolation a few times, sadness, and even enviness, because when you feel that it's too hard to be yourself, you wish to be somebody else because it would be way easier if you were this person or that other person, right? And this is enviness. And I feel that enviness is so demonized in our society. The same applies to anger. It's like they are forbidden emotions that we should run from and never feel it. But I think it's absolutely not true. I think we shouldn't give it the spotlight like this is my main emotion, but we should acknowledge when we feel it instead of running from it, because we feel what we feel for a reason. So for example, the times when I feel enviness are the times when I detach from my own essence and I cannot find joy within myself. And then I start this projection that if I was like this other person, I will feel happier. Therefore, basically, the enviness is telling me, girl, you're not good enough. You would be good enough if you were like the other girl. But when you know our enemies and we know what brings us down and we know what motivates our personality, we can also learn how to navigate that and evolve as individuals. So in my case, when the comparison gives space for actions, it's when I take the spotlight of the dark side of my personality and I start to let the light flow. And the light side of types 4 is they are people that can really get in touch with their emotions, even the most deepest and complicated ones. They are not afraid of them. They are afraid of not feeling anything. But with this ability to be in touch with the emotions, the type 4s find a way to transmute that and translate that into some expression of art. And you don't need to be a professional, obviously. Me, for example, I like to paint. So if you come to my house, you see that there is a lot of paintings hanging there. And I did all of them. And each one of them has a special meaning to me. And I can say exactly what I was feeling when I was painting that. Be ourselves can be great. We just need to understand that we are not perfect. That we have dark sides, that we have bad days. And this doesn't take away from our value. When I could understand that everything that I do because of this core motivation, change everything to me. Because I understood I don't need to perform to belong. I can just be. And this is enough. And I've talked a lot about the type 4 because it's my type. It could be yours too. But I'll briefly talk about the other types so more people can relate. So the type 1's childhood, the scenario was that they needed to have responsibilities earlier than they should. This could have happened because their parents demand a lot from them or because the situation demand a lot from them. Like having to take care of the house or having to take care of the young siblings or even having to work as a child brought them this sense of responsibility, and their unmet need is to feel good. But feel good in the sense of morally good, to do the right thing. Because they needed to think about what is right and what is wrong to do earlier, because they have more responsibilities earlier. It was a conflict to them because when they wanted to be a kid and they wanted to enjoy themselves and have fun, they couldn't because they would need to do these obligations they had. This rewired their brain on being rigid. So as adults, they are people that have difficulties on letting things flow. They are overly controlling. They tend to be judgmental. And the positive side of this personality is that they are hard workers and they do well. Anything that they do, they can also be great leaders, and they're good in encouraging people to find their potential. The type's 2 childhood was set in a way that they would only feel loved when they were nice to somebody. So if they were behaving well, they will have all the love and attention they wanted. But if they misbehave, they will feel abandoned. And I know that in a certain extension, we can all be like that. We can all relate to these aspects in our childhoods. But that's why we need to do a deeper evaluation to understand from all those unmet needs, which one caused the most impact, because it's based on that your personality is going to develop. So the type 2, they will do everything to feel loved. So it's the person that is going to put other people's needs in front of them, and they will always try to solve other people's problems, because unconsciously, if somebody is depending on them, this person will love them because they will need them. So their vision of love is confusing because for them, they need to do X, Y, and Z to be loved. And the good side of this personality is that they are able to uncomplicate things. So they can make things easier, which helps projects to flow. They have an eye for entrepreneurship. They are also great friends and great on managing people. In the type 3 childhood, they experience some mom issues. So their unmet need is to feel valued. And on their childhood, they will only feel loved or valued by their mothers because of the outcome they had. So if I was number 1 in class, then my mom will feel happy and I will feel valued. But if I was number 2, I wouldn't feel like my mom cared for me, that she valued me. And it's a lot of pressure to have to be number 1 all the time on everything you do. Types 3, they carried this through their adult life. So they need to portray themselves as successful. The quote, "fake it until you make it," was probably created by a type 3 because this is exactly what they do. They simply have to be the best so they can be loving themselves. Usually they have an area of their lives where this is more focused. So, for example, it can be work, it can be academics, or it can be appearance. Like they need to be the most attractive person. They don't show their vulnerabilities to others. And this can also lead them to isolation because when they are not feeling successful or not feeling the best, they might withdraw from interactions and be really, really sad. The good side of this personality is that they are optimistic, they are persistent, they have a vision and they go for it. They also are great at multitasking and connecting ideas and connecting people. On types 5, their unmet need is to feel capable. On their childhood, one or both of their parents were really needy. Have you seen that? Like parents that they don't let the kids do anything. They follow them and all the time needs to see what they're doing, needs to see if they're safe. And of course, we must watch our kids, especially when they're little, and need to make sure they're safe, that they're fine. But we also need to let some room for them to breathe, to do things on their own, to be creative. But types 5 didn't have this room. They were invaded in their privacy. So as a defense mechanism, they began to create this refuge in their minds. So they are often introspective, and they usually have an obsession, like a subject that is really important to them, and they go deep into it. I used to know this type 5 that was really into soccer. And this person was an encyclopedia because he knew everything about soccer. I believe this is the good side of the type 5 personality. They have a great intellectual capacity. They can also manage their emotions well under pressure. But the shadow side of this personality is that they have a really hard time on forming connections. They are often detached of their own emotions, and they fear drama in such level that for them all emotions are drama. It is really difficult to connect with them emotionally. And they also have difficulties expressing themselves, voicing their concerns. They are usually quiet and observant. Now, type 6 unmet need is to feel safe. Unlike the types 3 experience mom issues in their childhood, the type 6 experience dad issues. So their father figure either was not present or they had behaviors that didn't inspire trust, like they were physically or verbally aggressive. So the type 6, they constantly feel unsafe, and they try to find external sources to protect them. So usually they have one person that they elect to be their savior. Type 6 really struggle with autonomy because they cannot easily make a decision. They're usually the person that to make a choice would call all their friends and ask for advice and hear everybody's input. And even that won't be able to make this decision, and they would end up leaving up to somebody else. The issue is when this person they elect is no longer available to be their savior or to make their decisions, they go to a emotional process that is really intense for them. Similar to grief, because they lost their decision maker and who's gonna make the choices for them now? They don't feel capable of doing by themselves. The good side of this personality is that they are great at dialogue, because for them, relationships are part of their survival kit, so they become good in that. And they are also very loyal people. They will literally be by your side for bad and for worse. And they are not very judgmental. The type 7 unmet need is the need to feel happy. In their childhood, they experience some level of deprivation of the mother figure. This could be because the mom went back to work, or because they had a young sibling and then the mom had to pay more attention to this new baby. So feel like they had the mom all for themselves, and then suddenly this is not the reality anymore. And I feel that as parents, sometimes we put a lot of pressures on ourselves to not fail our kids, not cause any trauma. And even though you can do everything in your power to be the best parent, for some reason, even a simple one as going to work or having another kid, one of those 9 needs will be seen as less met by your child, and this will be the base of their whole personality. I feel like from all personalities, the type 7s are those who take longer to mature because they have a bit of commitment issues, not exclusively committing to somebody else in a relationship, but committing to ideas, committing to a profession, because they have extreme difficulty on making a choice. Different of the type 6 that have difficulties to make choices because they don't feel safe, the type 7 have difficulties making choices because in the minute they make one choice, they're going to be losing the other option. Have you heard that quote that says, every choice is a renounce? So they don't like renouncing things. Like to keep all doors open. And this can make them anxious and also make them stuck, because when you have too many choices and you don't know which one to choose, you end up doing anything. The good side of this personality is that they are uplifting people. They love life. They enjoy exploring new things. They are really open-minded, optimistic, and they don't stay sad for a long time. They appreciate joy. The type's 8 unmet need is to feel protected. And types 8 usually had a rough childhood where they experience some level of abuse. And this abuse can have happened to them, or they might watch it, someone being abused on a regular basis. Types 8, they tend to have a closed mind and go with the motto, it's my way or no way. Control is very important to them. They do what they can to be always the one in control. This can become toxic at some levels, but that happens because when other people were in control, they were kids, and when they were vulnerable, those people didn't do a good job with the power they had in their hands. Now it's up to me. I have the power. I'm going to use it in my favor. The good side of this personality is that they have tons of self-confidence and they are very self-sufficient. They can handle a great amount of stress without losing it. Like types 4 will be having a burnout if they had to deal with 10% of what a type 8 deals with when it comes to stress. They are resilient and strong in this sense. They are also really generous to the people they love. And lastly, the type 9. Their unmet need was to feel important. On the type 9 childhood, they likely had somebody in their family that was very assertive and would not take a no for an answer. So type 9 learned how to go with the flow to avoid conflict. And they carry this trait to adult life. They have difficulties on developing their own opinion. And most of the time, they don't even think about it. Like, it's not that deep for them. They just go with the flow, and wherever the group decides or whatever their partner decides is fine by them. And I think that from all types, type 9 is the one that has more difficulties of getting off a comfortable zone. The good side of this personality is that they are really calm and stable people. And they also have the ability to understand things from different points of view. This episode is just a brief explanation of the enneagram, but I truly recommend you to dig deep into it and to learn more about this tool, because it was the first tool I had access to learn things about myself. This process was really important to me, to the point that I have a tattoo about this. And what I think it works about this is that it's simple. You identify your childhood pattern, and then you identify what was the unmet need, because your personality is built on the first 7 years of your life. So you look back to identify that, and you look to the present and you see the traits, and you realize that everything that you do to fulfill that need. And that's why it's important that you know what need is that. This way you can understand your personality and understand the tools that work for you. Because when we go into this generalistic self-acknowledgement, we need to be aware that not everything is for us. For example, some personalities might benefit from you saying, hey, you need to stand up for yourself, you need to share your thoughts more. And if they do that, they're going to experience tremendous improvement. But other personalities have no issues with that. So if they try to apply the same principles in their lives, they wouldn't see much change because they need to focus their effort on doing something different. This is what I mean by know your enemy. This enemy is this unmet need, this part of you that you are constantly trying to reach. And I truly hope that you find the tools that you need to get closer and closer to this unmet need, because it's where true happiness are. I would love to know which one do you think is your type, so please comment below. And thank you for your time. See you.